Hi everyone, so this should be the first video you're watching for the Digital Darkroom badge. By now you should have downloaded the two photos that are part of the badge, which are dark.jpg and light.jpg, and they look like this. So you have a monkey for the dark one and baseball players for the light picture. For this badge, basically I'm just going to go through some of the options you have in Photoshop or in your photo imaging tools, whatever you're using. I'm not going to show you I'm not going to tell you this is how you should do it. It's all about exploring how you want the picture to look, because personally I like a more natural looking photo, so I don't like adding all these different filters or making it look too colorful. I like to think that it would be how you would see it in real life if you didn't have the camera in front of you. So you don't have to follow anything I do. If you want to add a filter, please feel free to do so. If you find other options or menus that do different things, please feel free to use them. This is just how to use Photoshop and what different things mean in the menu items if you don't really know or you're not really familiar with photo imaging or photo editing tools. So let's get started. So usually what I do when I first open up a photo is I go through, or I guess I should actually tell you what these menu items up at the top if you're using Photoshop. Mainly we'll be using the image tab here and in adjustments, and there's the different kind of fixes you can do for your photo. I'm only going to go through a few of these, so if you want to explore, please feel free to do so. You can also, Adobe has different tutorials, and you can Google things and people will tell you how to do it or what the best way to do it is, and that's usually what I do when I have a problem. And if you're using a different kind of Photoshop tool or image editing tool, just look around at the different menu items so you know where to look and see what they can do. So back to what I usually do when I first open up a photo is I go into Image, Adjustments, and I do Levels. Basically this is the color, midtone, and contrast all in one, and basically that's kind of what brings out the colors, the shadows, and all the natural looking pieces of the image together. And usually I do this for photos because a lot of times if you take the picture correctly, or you can fix a lot of the dark and light parts of the photo on your camera, but if you have something like this where you don't get a lot of detail and there's a lot of shadows, this is what you use it for. And on a dark photo, all the levels will be on the left side where the darker colors like black would be, and on the light photo, which I'll show you what it looks like in a moment, all the spikes and things will be over here. And what I usually do is see these tabs down here, these little triangles. You're going to move the tab where there's no spikes, and sometimes your photo will have this whole area will just be all, full of the levels, so you might not have to do it at all, but it's always good to check. Basically, I just take the tab, I don't really mess with the middle one, but I take the right or the left tab where there's no levels, and you move it right to the beginning of where it starts to peak and go up. And as you can see, the photo is already lighter and you can start seeing more details in the photo. And like I said, play around with all the tabs and the thing, and once you're happy with the photo, you just click OK and keep moving on. And if you have a lighter photo like this, something that has been overexposed, it's bright day out, you go back into Levels, and what I did was on my keyboard I went Command L, or on a PC it would be Control L if you have Photoshop, and it's definitely makes it easier if you know all the keyboard shortcuts, because then you can just kind of whiz through everything and get it done. But as you can see here, all the spikes and peaks are on the right side where the lighter colors are, and you just move the tab right to the bottom where the peak starts. And that's all you have to do, and as you can see, it already fixed a few things. For both photos like this, there's also brightness and contrast, which is in image adjustments, and it's the first choice. And you can make it brighter or darker depending on the photo. You can play with the contrast a little bit, and just basically move the tabs around, image adjustments, brightness, contrast, and you can just, you know, move the tabs around to bring out whatever you want in the photo. Another thing I like to use is color balance. So if you have a photo like this, where I know the subject, this monkey, is actually a lot more orange in real life, and some of these bamboo trees in the background are actually more green. So you go to Image Adjustments, Color Balance, or Command Control B. This is all in the cheat sheet if you have it. Like I said, keystrokes make it, or like shortcuts make it really easy. And basically you can play with the color tone of your photo. You know, sometimes if you're taking pictures in a gym, or if you have fluorescent lighting putting on the subject, the hue can be really weird. So you use color balance to either make it look more or less the color of the hue. And you just move the arrow tabs around, and you can go into highlights and do it, and play with the shadows a little bit, and just keep moving the colors around. Now for this one, I think everything looks alright, so I won't do color balance, but you know, if you want to go through, you definitely can, and you know, move things around. I also like to use, if you have images like this, you can bring out the saturation of the colors, and if the color balance didn't really work, or you know, just to add to what you did with the color balance, you can go into vibrance or hue and saturation and move the tabs around to make it less colorful, more colorful, whatever you want. Just keep moving those tabs around. And also a trick, if you're using a photo like this for your background photo for your website, you can bring the lightness up like this, so that way text and titles and other things can be more easily read. And because I know sometimes if you have a regular photo like this, like, you know, if you have white lettering up here, you'll be able to read them, but if the white letters might not be able to be read down here, so you can just move the lightness up and down. And if you want to go back, so you can see the numbers moving here, if you want to go back, you just click 0. And if you're using a different kind of image editing software, they might not have numbers, but they'll definitely have tabs like this where you can fix the hue, so you can make the hue of the picture be more cool, like, you know, the blues and purples and stuff, or you can make it warmer colored with like greens, yellows, and things like that. So just play around with the different menu options you have, and move the tabs around, and keep playing with, you know, the menu items. That's basically all I do. If I hit a bump in the road with a photo and none of the things in here are working for me, I'll, you know, Google it or go into a different menu tab and just keep trying new things to see if I can fix the photo. And this is vibrance. This is another thing that can make the photo bring out some colors. You know, you can make it really green, but that's not natural enough for me, but it might be for you. But you know, you can just keep bringing out as much or as little color as you want. I mean, if you want to make this a black and white photo, feel free to do so. And just a few other tips too. If you have landscape shots or animal shots, the vibrance and hue and saturation work really well, because as you can see in this photo, it brings out the different, like the bamboo and the color of the monkey's fur, because sometimes a photo, when you capture a photo on a camera, it won't completely capture the entire vibrance of the landscape or the animal that you were taking a picture of. So definitely feel free to, go through these and try to make it look as natural or make it bright and more saturated as much as you want. So now that you have your photos ready, you can add a photo credit at the bottom. That's what I usually do. I'm a photographer and I want people to know that it was taken by me and that they can't, pass it off as their own work. And some of these menu items over here are good for that. So you have the text tool, which is right here. You can click on that if it'll go. Sometimes it takes a while. I have a lot of photos on my laptop, so Photoshop sometimes takes a really long time. But yeah, basically you have a type tool, and you can, as you can see there, you can type, make a credit, and type whatever you want. If you want to make an image, a graphic, things like that, you can use the type tool for that. And then you have the lasso tool, which if you're more experienced with Photoshop, it helps you, outline things, or if you just want him to be in the picture and take away the background, you'd put a lasso around him and put him on a different background. You have the crop tool, which is right here, and you can bring it in as large or small as you want. See here, you have a stamp tool, which is a little bit more advanced as well. So if you have like a black spot right here, I could go in and take color from this part of his pants and put it over here to cover up the black spot, things like that. And then you have a shape tool over here, so you can go in and you can make whatever you want. So if you wanted to put a text box, or you wanted to circle this guy's head, whatever you wanted to do, it's all right in here. So once you're done with your photo and you're happy with the edits you made, you're going to go File, Save As, and you're going to name it Light or Dark dash, what did I make? Fixed, yes. I put Light dash Fixed or Dark dash Fixed, and you make it a JPEG. And then you put it back in whatever folder you're in, and make sure you're saving as. You're not saving over the original. You never want to save over the original if you have photos that you took yourself and you deleted them off your camera and the only place they are is on your computer. You never want to save over the original, because you never know if you're going to need to go back and re-edit something or create a new sized image, or make something with a filter. You never know. So make sure you always have the original. And if you already saved over it, for this badge you can go back into Blackboard and download it again, but most of the time that you don't really have that option. So just make sure that you don't ever save over the original, and just keep renaming it with something. So when you do the image resizing, you're going to put like light dash small, light dash medium, light dash large, things like that. So that way you know what size they are, that it's different from the original, and you can find it a lot easier. So I already have all my photos ready for the Darkroom badge. There's a cheat sheet that goes along with this, so if I went a little too fast or you didn't understand it, you can follow along with the cheat sheet. It also has some tips if you're doing something with different images other than sports or animals. You can also go and Google your question. A lot of times that's what I end up doing. So if there's like a sun glare where you get that really kind of like sunny spot right here and it's making the photo look bad, you can see how to get rid of it, or you want to learn how to use the stamp tool, things like that. So just Google it if you don't know what to do, read the cheat sheet, and if anything, contact Professor Gruen, or he can even contact me if you still have questions. I hope you guys will have fun editing your photos. I know that I do now, because I literally have to do it every single day. And trust me, it does get a lot more fun, and it gets a lot easier, especially if you know all the shortcuts and what everything does. It makes it a lot easier. So go on and edit your photos any way you want. If you find a new way to do it, please do it, and make sure to remember to save as dark or light dash fixed.jpg and make sure it's a JPEG. At least something you'll remember to name it when you're putting it on your website. So that's it, and I hope you guys have fun doing this.